It's time for the next adventure in our food unit. We already learned about photosynthesis and all the inputs and outputs of a plant system. Now we'll look at chemical reactions going on inside our bodies when we eat the plant matter. We'll focus on the remarkable symmetry of these chemical reactions. Every output of the respiration is an input to photosynthesis and vice versa, including the energy involved. Our phenomena for this unit is people and other animals get their energy from food. How do they do that? In Lesson 3.13, we use the unit roadmap to connect what we learned in our study of chemical reactions to photosynthesis. Students participate in a short interactive presentation that gets them to think about photosynthesis in plants as a chemical system, focusing on energy inputs and outputs. And after the presentation, students will draw a quick flowchart tracing the path of energy in the food unit roadmap visual. Finally, students will make a photosynthesis cube to summarize what they learned so far about photosynthesis. They'll have time to complete the cubes in the next class period. In Lesson 3.14, students complete their photosynthesis cubes, which can be a summative assessment on photosynthesis. Students then discuss the new phenomenon that people and other animals get their energy from food. And finally, students learn that in order to understand how the energy stored in glucose provides energy for humans, they need to analyze the food that they eat. Students will create a food journal as homework, where they write down everything that they eat and drink for 5 days. In Lesson 3.15, we start by ensuring that every student is up to date with their food journal. And then today we ask, what happens during digestion? Our goal is to create a flowchart model that follows the path of food as it moves through the digestive system. There's that cross-cutting concept. To give students the background that they need in order to do that, they obtain information from an internet article, answering a few questions to ensure that they've compiled the information that they actually need for their model. For the last 5 minutes of the class period, students share their flowcharts in small groups. And reminder, update your food journal for homework. In Lesson 3.16, we again check for progress on the food journal and complete the digestion model. The flowchart shows us how nutrients get to our cells, but then what happens? How do our cells use nutrients once they get them? We check in with where we are on the unit roadmap and then introduce the process of cellular respiration in a short interactive presentation. Over the next 2 days, students will make a physical model of the respiration chemical reaction. They can use physical objects like game tokens to illustrate the individual atoms of the input and output molecules in this chemical system. And remember to update your food journal for homework. In Lesson 3.17, students review their physical models so that we can really focus our attention on the outputs, the products of the respiration reaction. One product is carbon dioxide, which we can measure. Since yeast for making bread is a tiny organism that digests sugar, we can look for evidence that it undergoes respiration by measuring the amount of carbon dioxide it produces. We'll put our Pocket Lab Air devices to use to do just that. We have a handout to walk students through this investigation, and they have the remainder of the class period to complete parts A and B. And let's keep working on our food journals. When students arrive to class the next day, they'll see blank posters all around the room, each with a STEM or topic about photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Students will visit each paper and have 1 minute to write and or draw as many things they can about the topic. Once complete, we discuss all the posters and correct any preconceptions. Then, students are going to create individual Venn diagrams to answer the question, how do cellular respiration and photosynthesis differ? How are they similar? As a class, we then compile a synthesis Venn diagram. And for homework, let's keep updating our food journals. We start the next lesson with a short presentation about storyboards and how they depict sequences of events, just like boxes in a comic strip. We then introduce their project to Storyboard Cellular Respiration. There are handouts with instructions and a rubric for students. We even point out how the unit roadmap for this unit is a storyboard. Students have this class period and the next to create their cellular respiration storyboard. And of course, they need to keep updating their food journal. In Lesson 3.20, we again check in to make sure students are up to date with their food journal before spending the rest of the class period on the cellular respiration storyboard. If students finish early, they can share their storyboards with others who are finished. And if they aren't yet done, they'll have to finish it up as homework. Now that we've seen what our body does to nutrients in food, it's time to step back and think about our food choices.